Great, thank you. And I'll pass it over to Jen.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the public hearing for the HOME-ARP Allocation Plan and the 2020 and 2021 Annual Action Plan Amendments. This meeting is hosted by the Montana Department of Commerce. We have a few housekeeping items to go over before we dive into the presentation. The first is which is to let everyone know that this meeting is being recorded. The recording and the presentation will be available on our website after the fact. If you have any Zoom issues or technical questions throughout the presentation, please put them in the question and answer feature or in the chat. This allows us to make sure we're responding to any issues as they come up. If you have any questions regarding the content of the presentation, please hold your thoughts for the public comment period at the end of the presentation. During that time, if you have a comment, please raise your hand so we can unmute you. And if you happen to be joining by phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9 and then *6 to unmute yourself. We'll cover that again later. When providing comments, please make sure you spell your name, state the organization that you represent, and specify which document you're commenting on. We will respond in writing afterwards, as all public comments are submitted to HUD as part of the final documents for both of these topics. And with that, we will jump in. The state of Montana, through the Department of Commerce, develops a 5-year plan to guide policy and investment for housing, economic, and other community development. The 5-year plan, also known as the Consolidated Plan for Housing and Community Development, is required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, to assess Montana's needs and current conditions, as well as to determine priorities and allocate HUD funding. The perspectives and opinions shared by participants of this public hearing will help Commerce to edit and finalize both the HOME-ARP Allocation Plan, which falls under the 2021 Annual Action Plan, or AAP. Your feedback will also help finalize amendments to the 2020 and 2021 Annual Action Plans, which fall under the 2020 to 2024 Consolidated Plan. We hope that with your input, we can ensure housing and community development needs across Montana are identified and addressed. So for HOME-ARP, HOME-ARP stands for the Home Investments Partnership Program American Rescue Plan. Through this program, Commerce is eligible to receive $11,459,768 from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, to address the housing needs of qualifying populations. This is done through the production of permanent homes, non-congregate shelter, and/or supportive services. For those of you familiar with the regular home program, it is also administered by the Department of Commerce. There is a distinct difference between regular home and the HOME-ARP program. HOME-ARP funds must be used to assist households that meet one or more of the following definitions, rather than determining eligibility by household income. So qualifying populations eligible for HOME-ARP assisted projects include individuals and households that are homeless, at risk of homelessness, fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or human trafficking, and other populations where providing supportive services or assistance under Section 212 would prevent homelessness or would serve those with the greatest risk of housing instability. Veterans and families that include a veteran family member are eligible under the HOME-ARP program if they also meet one of the preceding qualifying populations. Veteran status alone does not qualify. Eligible activities under the HOME-ARP program include the acquisition, rehabilitation, or new construction of affordable housing, tenant-based rental assistance, supportive services, acquisition and development of non-congregate shelter, and nonprofit operating and capacity building assistance. To develop the HOME-ARP Allocation Plan, Commerce was required to undergo an extensive consultation process, which helped identify the housing needs and gaps in resources available around the state. This information was used to prioritize the use of the state's allocation of funds from HUD. The HOME-ARP Allocation Plan describes the actions, activities, and resources available for the state's HOME-ARP program. It summarizes the consultation process discussed on the previous slide and provides an analysis of housing needs and service gaps across the state. It also identifies the highest priority uses of the state's allocation and discusses the competitive process that Commerce will use to fund eligible projects. Commerce's consultation process included a program overview that was presented in October of 2021 to EWAC, virtual meetings held with diverse organizations and agencies from summer of 2021 through winter of 2022, a public survey that was conducted in August of 2022, and then another presentation of the survey results presented to EWAC in September of 2022. The results of the consultation process identified the need for more affordable housing units that meet property standards and accept rental assistance as the largest need across the state. The lack of existing inventory makes it difficult to utilize existing voucher and rental assistance programs. Other high needs that were identified included supportive services, additional non-congregate shelter space, and additional tenant-based rental assistance, or TBRA or TBRA. Commerce also underwent an analysis of gaps in housing and services across the state. As noted during consultation, Commerce identified significant gaps in the inventory of available rental housing and supportive services that's available to qualifying populations. We also identified a need for non-congregate shelter space, particularly in rural communities. Low inventory of housing units makes transitioning out of existing shelters and into permanent housing particularly difficult and requires extensive supportive services in order for qualifying populations to remain housed. And this slide includes links to all of the data sources that were used during our gap analysis. And as a result of consultation and analysis, Commerce is proposing this breakdown in the use of our HOME-ARP allocation. Of our $11,459,768, we propose $1,300,000 for supportive services, $9,013,792 for development of affordable rental housing, and $1,145,976 in administration. It's important to note that the amount for supportive services is a maximum that we're proposing. Any unused funds will be put towards the development of affordable rental housing. And the amount allocated for administration is also 10% of the total allocation, which is less than the statutory limit. Commerce intends to issue our HOME-ARP funds for eligible projects through a competitive application process similar to that of the regular Home and Housing Trust Fund, or HTF, application process. The initial round for applications will be open to all eligible entities in non-entitlement communities. Any remaining funds will be made available in a second competitive round open to all eligible entities around the state, regardless of entitlement status. Just please note that the HOME-ARP application guidelines are not available at this time. They will be similar to the Home and HTF guidelines, but with additional questions regarding supportive services. The HOME-ARP Allocation Plan is available for review on Commerce's website linked here. And all public comments on this plan will be included in our submission to HUD. If you'd like to provide comment, please hold your thoughts until the public comment period at the end of the presentation, or submit your comments in writing before the end of the comment period on February 17th. We will have instructions for providing written comment on a separate slide at the end of the presentation. And now we transition over to the 2021 and 2020 AAP amendments.
Okay, so in this section of the public hearing, we will be discussing the two amendments made for the 2020 to 2021 annual action plan, which is a part of the 2020 to 2024 consolidated plan, which is year one. And then the 2021-2022 annual action plan, which is also part of the 2020 to 2024 consolidated plan, year two. First, let's review the consolidated plan goals and objectives. The objectives of Montana's consolidated plan include to provide decent housing, provide a suitable living environment, and expand economic opportunities. The goals of Montana's consolidated plan are: goal 1, preserve and construct affordable housing; goal 2, plan for communities; goal 3, improve and sustain public infrastructure; goal 4, to revitalize local economies; and goal 5, to reduce homelessness. The programs that are included under the 2020 to 2024 consolidated plan are the Community Development Block Grant Program, which includes housing, public and community facilities, planning, and economic development; the Emergency Solutions Grant, Home Investment Partnerships Program, Housing Trust Fund, housing opportunities for persons with AIDS. Included in the 2020 to 2024 consolidated plan documents, it is the 5-year consolidated plan for housing and community development, the annual action plan, or the AAP, and the consolidated annual performance and evaluation report. As a part of the 2021 to 2022 AAP and 2020 to 2021 AAP components, first, there is the setup, the administrative details, the process or PR, which is the public participation elements, including today, the public hearing and the public comment process, and the annual action plan, or the AAP, expected resources, goals, priorities, and how funds will be distributed by each program. So to start, we will be going over the 2020 annual action plan, resources by program, plan year one. The Community Development Block Grant Program was $6,861,061, and Home $3,635,479. Emergency Solutions Grant was $732,063, and Housing Trust Fund was $3 million. This table is the resources by goal in plan year one, which is a part of the 2020 to 2021 annual action plan. This was the original resources by goal table, and the proposed amendment would alter the table like such. Therefore, we would be reducing revitalized local economies, increasing the program of improving and sustaining vital public infrastructure, and preserve and construct affordable housing. In the second amendment, the 2021 to 2022 annual action plan, resources by program, plan year two. This included the Community Development Block Grant Program, which was $6,982,827. Home was had $3,590,456. Emergency Solutions Grant was $743,529, and Housing Trust Fund was $3,401,884. This was the original table in the 2020 to 2020 2021, excuse me, to 2022 Annual Action Plan Resources by Goal, Plan Year 2. As you can see in Revitalize Local Economies for CDBG, there was $2 million included in Revitalize Local Economies. And we will be amending it to 0 and increasing improve and sustain vital public infrastructure, plan for, reduce homelessness and preserve and construct affordable housing. We are making this amendment due to changes in available public federal funding for communities to apply to, and also seeing a decrease in applications for the CDBG Economic Development Program, as well as an increase in need for applications for public infrastructure grants. All of the documents that we have discussed today are available online for further inspection and for you to be able to read as PDFs or Word documents. They are available on our ComPlan website as listed here, and also the HOME-ARP website as seen here, and then you can also request them. And here is contact information for myself, Rosie Goldich, and also Jen Steepleton. And that concludes the end of our presentation. So now we will be accepting public comments regarding the draft HOME-ARP allocation plan, and the 2020 and 2021 AAP amendments are now being accepted. If you have a comment and are joining via webinar, please raise your hand so we can unmute you. If you are joining via phone, please press *9 to indicate you have a comment, and then press *6 to unmute or remute yourself. When providing comment, please state and spell your name, your full name. Please state the organization you represent if you are representing an organization. Please specify which document you are providing comment for. Written comments should be addressed to the address below or email below, and will be accepted until 5 p.m. on February 17th, 2023. Do we currently have any public comments?
A couple people.
Okay, I will be asking Jim Morton to unmute himself, and please, once again, state your full name, the organization you are with, and the document you will be providing comment for.
Yes, good morning. Good afternoon. My name is Jim Morton, spelled JIMMORTON. I'm commenting on the HOME-ARP Allocation Plan draft. Overall, I want to compliment the staff on the document, and especially comment on the recognition in the document of non-entitlement communities. I'll have questions I'll submit in writing. My further comment would be that once the plan is approved, that I would stress the need for the staff to hold a working session with potential applicants so that we can have a time to ask questions and have them answered. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jim.
Thank you. Do we currently have any other public comments? Okay, Heather, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Heather Grenier. It's HEATHERGRENIER. And I'm with HRDC District 9. And I'm speaking to the HOME-ARP plan. And I would just encourage consideration for allocating dollars to development of non-congregate shelter. That was one of the initial HOME-ARP priorities identified as a high priority need area, but not allocated any funding. I think there are solutions on the ground that people deployed as COVID response in anticipation of those dollars across the state. And it feels like that's a slight diversion from the initial plan. But also want to thank the staff for all their work on this and appreciate the opportunity today. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Heather. Any other comments?
We'll leave it open for a few minutes if anyone thinks of other things that they would like to comment on.
Jim, go ahead.
I think you might be referring to me, Ruth Burke.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
So I'm Ruth Burke and my name is spelled R-U-T-H-B-U-R-K-E. I'm the Executive Director at District 11 Human Resource Council, where our services are in Mineral, Missoula, and Ravalli counties. And I'm commenting on the draft HOME-ARP Allocation Plan. I just want to express my appreciation for the work that went into the HOME-ARP Allocation Plan. The plan looks really well written and it seems to have incorporated feedback that we provided as stakeholders. And at HRC, we're pleased to see that there's a focus on that rural development. The rural areas face shortages of affordable housing, although it's not as visible. And we're pleased to see that you're focusing on the most vulnerable and those at risk of homelessness. I offer suggestions that the scoring criteria might incorporate points for shovel-ready projects and the creation of new units. And I'm interested to learn whether match is required in the program, what is included in the estimated 200,000 per development cost, and that's well below that subsidy limit. Does that include land? Does that include infrastructure costs or professional fees? And or is it just hard costs? Are furnishings an eligible expense? And can supportive services be requested on the same application as the request for new construction? And that's all I have.
Thank you so much for your comment, Ruth.
Can I just pop in? This is Julie Flynn with Department of Commerce. And Ruth, just to answer one of your more straightforward questions about the requirement for match. There is no requirement for match with this program. And then we'll get answers to your remaining questions. Thanks.
Are there any other comments?
I see there's one person calling in from a phone. If you happen to have a comment, you can press *9 to raise your hand. And then it's *6 to unmute yourself if you want to provide a comment. We'll leave it open for a few more minutes just in case.
Hearing no more comments and seeing no more hands raised. Once again, I would like to remind you that written comments should be addressed to the address or email below and will be accepted until 5 p.m. on February 17th, 2023. You can email docconplan@mt.gov. You can also email docccd@mt.gov. If you have any questions, you can stay on the line. But other than that, I believe we are done.
We will conclude the public comment period and thank everyone for participating today.
Thank you. Rach, you can stop the recording.